From the murky waters of the sportsman's paradise, stories emerge. Stories of the generations of people who have shared in the bounties of the land. Stories of communities that have persevered through natural disasters. Stories of the abundance of fish, wildlife, and adventures that create an ecosystem rich in diversity. And from the silted banks of the mighty Mississippi to the soggy marsh bottoms, from the tops of towering pine forests to the depths of the salty Gulf, human and animal have shared this fortune for centuries. Enjoy these stories as told by outdoor journalists who travel across our state, documenting the adventure, sportsmanship, and heritage that make us Bayou Wild.
Welcome to Bayou Wild TV. I'm here with Don Dubuque, and we're at Morton's Seafood Restaurant. Now this week, Alaska Part 2. So the first week we went there, we talked about salmon and all the fishing we did there. Well, this week we're talking about offshore.
I fish in Alaska a lot like Louisiana. One day you might be catching silver salmon in a river, and the next you're in the Gulf with halibut.
And a trip you took.
Yeah, it's called the Kenai Fjords, and it's a great trip. You go out to Fox Island, have a little lunch, and get to see everything that's out there, including glaciers, wildlife, and including a whale.
And we went to Seward, where we did our multi-species offshore trip. We caught some great halibut once again, and a half a dozen different species of rockfish. And we're gonna cook those for you also, all coming up.
The easy way to remember this recipe is, kind of goes like the old song. You put the lime in the coconut, you mix it all up, you put the lime in the coconut.
Closed captioning made possible by Ceto.com. Become a member.
Add the taste of Louisiana to your next meal. If you like creamy, bold, tangy, or spicy, bring home the taste of Louisiana with sauces from Louisiana fish fry products.
If you're lucky enough to bag a deer or a hog this season, bring it here to Double D. Double D processes hogs and exotic game and guarantees your product is always the meat you brought to Double D.
Double D Meats in Bogalusa, home of country smoked, spicy jalapeno cheddar, and other customized flavors.
Bring your deer or your hog here to Double D, where you always get your meat back in return. It's worth a drive to Bogalusa from anywhere. Double D.
Hi, I'm Donnie Rouse. There are a lot of different reasons to shop at Rouse's.
It's the people. Everybody that works here is just so nice.
Our stores get deliveries 7 days a week.
They have such a wide variety at Rouse's. Everything's in stock. I mean, everything.
We use Rouse family recipes and ingredients found right here in the store.
It's the food. Rouse's food tastes like homemade. And they're local.
Like us.
We also have great prices.
That's the difference Rouse's makes.
As the sun rises over an Alaskan mountain range, a Cajun Invasion fishing trip could land you in the town of Seward. This small seaport is sandwiched between the Kenai Fjords National Park and the Chugach State Park. Offshore anglers descend on this area not only for the amazing views, but also the variety of fish which swim in the waters of the Gulf of Alaska. So today the captain made the decision that we weren't going to head to the island because it was too rough. And when you have a boat with 12 people, regardless if one person wants to get out there and really fight those seas, you got to go with what the majority says and what's safe for the crew.
Yeah, I've been to Seward here many times, and I got to tell you, this multi-species trip is really one of my favorites. It's a great little town, beautiful marina, very scenic ride out. You get to see sea lions, we've seen whales, we've seen dolphins, some beautiful scenery as far as the rocky cliffs. And then once you get out there, plenty of fish to catch and a lot of different species.
We had to wait on the tides, which is pretty common for bottom fish. They really heavily rely on the tides, which is apparent here and back home. I think halibut fishing is a lot like our grouper fishing, and the rockfish was a little more similar to snapper fishing. The bites were similar. For the halibut, they can be pretty strong, not quite too hard to pull in, definitely a bottom feeder, and a lot of similarities in that.
Well, halibut fishing really doesn't compare to anything that we're familiar with in the Gulf. I mean, this is like catching a flounder on steroids. It's a bottom-hugging fish, very closely related to the flounder, but many more times its size.
That's a big one.
The fight goes on depending on some of these fish are pretty hard to winch up. Sometimes people compare it to a wet carpet or pulling up a Volkswagen on the really big ones. And it can take a while to get them up to the top. You get a delicious fish. There's a lot of meat on that fish per pound of fish. There's very little bit of waste. So it's a great fish to catch, and I guess it's one of the signature fish of Alaska. When you think of Alaska fishing, halibut and salmon probably the two biggies that come to mind.
Fishing in Alaska a lot like Louisiana. One day you might be catching silver salmon in a river, and the next you're in the Gulf with halibut.
This trip versus last year, it was a little harder to get the bite. We didn't get as many fish, but we got better quality fish. So I think there were some larger fish in the 40 to 50 pound range, but for the most part, we got them pretty good. A couple of them ate the jig, a couple of them ate a large salmon head. So all varieties of bait seem to work with them.
Oh, nice fish though. Yeah, you got nice. Wicked tuna. Oh, I got swarm.
This fish was caught on the jig, but he was foul hooked, so he fought like a lot bigger fish. Still a decent halibut though. Definitely the biggest we've caught, or at least I've caught. Don's got way bigger.
The biggest halibut I've caught was 125 pounds, and it was one of the first, maybe the second year that I came here. And since that time, I've really seen a decline in the big halibuts. Here at Seward, they still come in, but not nearly as plentiful as what they used to be. And I think that's just a sign of the times. The species is being depleted. There's a struggle between the commercial and the recreational, similar to what we have on a lot of species in Louisiana. And they've become more tight on the regulations on what days you can catch them, how many you can keep per day, and of course forcing you to keep that one small one under 28 inches is good conservation after all. My highlight of the day, though, was catching a 60-pound halibut on a very light tackle reel with 30-pound test line on it.
What we have here, ladies and gentlemen,
is a UFO, unidentified fishy object. I've had guesses from lingcod to halibut to the unknown. Maybe Jimmy Hoffa's body's gonna show up, who knows? Unfortunately, I had to release it because I already had my over 28-inch fish, so couldn't keep that one, but that was okay. I got the fight out of it. It was great. And there he goes. We got all the fight I needed out of him, just no meat. On this, that's a lot of fun on this right here. This is a toy to go for a fish like that.
You see small halibut. Hopefully big enough to discern from a flounder. It's not a halibut, period. It's a, what is that?
Quillback.
Pretty cool. I have just learned that this is a quillback rockfish. They're pretty hardcore looking.
And it's really interesting to learn the history of some of these fish and the biology, like the yellow eyes and the tiger eye, and then you've got the ones they call the donkeys, and so many different species of fish. And it's really surprising that out of an area with such dull-looking waters that they have such brilliant colored fish coming out.
I knew that there were several species. I didn't know there was upwards of 50 different species. When I caught that tiger's eye, I got really excited because I learned it was a more rare, not completely unheard of, but the diva fish for the lady on the boat. Really pretty fish, very exotic looking. The black ones are obviously pretty too, but for the most part, I think it had the most glam factor, which was kind of cool. It might make a really nice mount for the wall.
All right, this is the result of what they call a multi-species trip out of Seward. Now, fishing is certainly the focus of our Cajun Invasion. On your days off from fishing, there's a lot of things we suggest folks do. Get out and explore Alaska's natural resources, see some of the beauty, enjoy the heritage, look at the glaciers, maybe take a trip to the Kenai Fjords. You're going to see marine mammals like stellar seals, bird life of all types, puffins, and also, if you're lucky, a whale. If you're lucky enough to bag a deer or a hog this season, bring it here to Double D. Double D processes hogs and exotic game and guarantees your product is always the meat you brought to Double D.
Double D Meats in Bogalusa, home of country smoked, spicy jalapeno cheddar, and other customized flavors.
Bring your deer or your hog here to Double D, where you always get your meat back in return. It's worth a drive to Bogalusa from anywhere. Double D.
Some things in life smell delicious. Others, not so much. Like a gas leak. Propane, for instance, is naturally odorless. That's why we add strong odorants to alert you if there is a leak. So if you ever smell gas, turn your system off at the tank and call your propane dealer immediately. Propane is a safe and exceptional fuel, and we want to keep it that way.
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today. A boat tour through the Kenai Fjords revealed a true natural treasure, but it wasn't until 1980 that this area became designated as a national park.
The Alaskan National Interest Lands Conservation Act, signed into law by President Jimmy Carter, provided special protection to over 157 million acres of land in the state of Alaska.
Now, as the glaciers were growing and advancing, they were carving and shaping the land. And as they began to recede or melt, they revealed the shapes they had created, including fjords. And fjords are U-shaped valleys carved out by glacial ice that's filled with seawater. So really, Seward is sitting right on the edge of Resurrection Bay, a fjord.
The Kenai Fjords National Park covers just over 1,000 square miles of that land, with the majority of it only accessible by hiking, plane, or boat. It's home to a variety of marine life, birds and mammals, and of course, breathtaking walls of ice displaying the face of centuries-old glaciers. Much of the park's interior is blanketed by the Harding Ice Field, named after President Warren Harding, the first president of the USA to visit the territory of Alaska. Here, receding glaciers and coastal erosion have carved unique shorelines through the rocky terrain for centuries. The state flower of Alaska is the forget-me-not, and any experience in the 49th state is hard to forget. And no matter if you've experienced Alaska's splendor for the first time or after multiple trips, the last frontier always leaves you saying, wow.
The iconic whooping crane is back in Louisiana. If you spot a whooping crane, remember, observe and admire it from a distance, and always report any harmful activity. You can always help the Louisiana whooping cranes thrive by donating to lawff.org.
Thank you to Chevron and the Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries Foundation for their generous support. This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today.
Today we're going to do Alaskan rockfish. Now you saw us catch those rockfish on the Alaskan Cajun Invasion.
So right here we've got a quillback, a yellow eye, a black sea bass. I forget what this one's called, but Captain calls it a mustard bass. I think that's the slang term, and the elusive tiger eye.
There's about 50-something species of rockfish, and we caught quite a few different types, but you can cook any of them the same way. If you don't have rockfish, and I know a lot of you don't, you can use a fish that's similar to it in texture and quality. I think it's a lot like red snapper. Martha says she thinks it's a lot like our freshwater bass. But the easiest thing to do with it is do what I call the coconut lime panko rockfish recipe. You start off with your fillets. You put them in a flour. Now this flour that I've found is special because it's got the coconut flavoring already in it. If you have a regular flour, you can get coconut flakes, add it to it, and that'll give it your coconut taste. After you dust it in the flour, you want to put it in an egg wash. Put a couple of eggs with milk. I like to use almond milk with a coconut flavor because I like a lot of pronounced coconut in my fish. Then once you've got it there, you put it into the panko batter. You mix it up, coat it real good with that, and today we're going to air fry it. Put it in the air fryer. The reason why I like air frying, there's no grease, there's no mess, there's no cleanup. It's very easy to do, and it cooks rather quickly too. And you got to be careful on your time, and we'll get to that in just a second. But the easy way to remember this recipe is, kind of goes like the old song. You put the lime in the coconut, you mix it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, you put it in the panko, and you air fry a rockfish. We're going to cook them up for you in just a second. We put our fish into the air fryer. Temperature you want to cook at is 370 degrees. And your time, you want to set this for about 14 to 15 minutes, depending on how crispy you like it. Sometimes you might want to go half that and check it, and then you can reset the timer. But about 15 minutes should be correct for that. Just push your start button and let it go.
Hi, I'm Donnie Rouse. There are a lot of different reasons to shop at Rouse's.
It's the people. Everybody that works here is just so nice.
Our stores get deliveries 7 days a week.
They have such a wide variety at Rouse's. Everything's in stock. I mean, everything.
We use Rouse family recipes and ingredients found right here in the store.
It's the food. Rouse's food tastes like homemade.
And they're local.
Like us.
We also have great prices.
That's the difference Rouse's makes.
If you're a proud Bayou Wild TV viewer, check out the Bayou Wild TV collection shirts. Both regular tee and long sleeve dry fit are a perfect fit for any outdoorsman or woman who lives and plays in Bayou country. And they make perfect gifts. Go to BayouWildTV.com.
Here's how I guarantee my crawfish tastes great every time. I use Louisiana Fish Fry brand seafood boil. Why do the pros use Louisiana Fish Fry seafood boil?
Because the flavor is so good.
Louisiana Fish Fry seafood boil has more garlic, onion, paprika, lemon, and not too much salt.
Louisiana Fish Fry brand seafood boil. Find the yellow bag and pour and boil for great crawfish every time. All right, so our rockfish is now done. We take it out of the air fryer. We plate it up. Look how nice and crispy that is. And take your favorite green salad. Makes a nice addition to the fish. And we like to use that Sal and Judy's balsamic vinaigrette. Put a little bit of that on your favorite green salad, maybe a spinach salad. Plate it all up. What a good combination this is right here. And then, of course, the final touch is one that's very important. You add the lime to the coconut. Just put it on there as much as you like. It gives it a good flavor. A combination of coconut and lime, and there you have it. Coconut lime, panko battered, air fried rockfish, fresh from Alaska.
1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook.
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today.
In 1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook.
Thanks for watching our Cajun Invasion Part 2 to Alaska. Tune in next week. We've got another great episode of Bayou Wild for you.
Don't forget to shop for your Bayou Wild collection. Go to our website, BayouWildTV.com.
We'll see you next week.